when you walk in that middle, I felt so amazed because on the right side, you have the representation of spirit. And then on the left side, you have the representation of matter. And I felt walking in the middle, it's like a perfect union of life. Like a not there, not here, but in the middle. Not even the painting that is the treasured possession, but that memory. But the painting is a very beautiful gesture and representation of that moment. I was already at 18, 19, you know and you don't know. It's a lot of confusion. And that confusion I brought out in all kinds of strange ways. And I got frustrated at myself for living this person. In that moment, it all fell away. I felt for the first time really free.
Hello and welcome back to These Three Things, the podcast that asks which person, place and treasured possession have made a lasting impression upon your life and why. Today, my guest is the teacher, author and life coach, Fritz Lensch. At a very young age, his father introduced him to Zen Buddhism, which sparked his lifelong learning and love affair for pure essence, that which has no form, that which is pure light. I first became aware of Fritz's teaching when I was a participant on the course A Mighty Heart, led by Dr. Silla Elworthy. His facilitation and indeed his presence on that training made a profound impact upon me. He has taught several times at the Transmission School in Tuscany, Italy. He is the co-author of his book Peace Design and the founder of the organization Live Light. He says, "My mission is simple. I just want people to be able to live light. We are born with this truth, but we lose our connection to it. The intention behind Live Light is to remind us of our pure essence and from that place act within the world." It is an absolute pleasure and privilege to have Fritz with us today. Fritz, before we get stuck in, may I ask you, did you enjoy the process of choosing your three things?
Yeah, I would say, because it always reminds me, so to say, of that insight or that feeling of whatever I chose and calls it back.
Yeah, the memory, that deep memory and connection that you have. So it was a pleasurable experience. It was quite fun, I hope, to choose your person, your place and your thing.
Well, actually, for the person, it's not even a memory because I never met the person. And neither do I have any experience with the person. But still, the person has made already a lasting impact. So it was nice to choose her.
Oh, well, let's start. Tell us, who is your person and why?
Well, I chose actually the newborn child of my sister.
Ah, what?
Yeah, she was born a couple of days ago. I believe actually not a couple of days, yesterday she was born. So it was a special moment. And her name is Karla, quite a beautiful name, I find.
Yes, it is.
And well, actually I was before the birth not so much in touch with the process of the pregnancy, or I didn't really feel like an emotional connection with the child. Then a few days before, it kind of dawned on me the beauty of a life being born in general and then into the family. So it felt very warm, and I started exchanging some songs with my sister, which she wanted to listen to whilst she's giving birth. And I was surprised she chose a beautiful Indian mantra to listen to, which was very impressive, I feel. Came with a lot of light and sung by really someone who understands how to connect with something much bigger than herself. So when I heard that song, it's 40 minutes long, I was in the plane, and suddenly I could start to feel Karla coming through, so to say.
What's the song, if I may ask?
I don't know, because it's an Indian mantra. I can't remember. But I will send it to you afterwards, with the allowance of my sister, of course.
So when you were listening to it, you felt the presence of your niece, did you, when you first heard the music?
Yeah, suddenly I did. And what I find so beautiful with someone being newborn is really their lightness and their perfection. the newborn is like a symbol, or feeling of something that's untouched. And I had just spent 1 month in Nepal. I told you I was in the plane when I heard the song, so I was really immersed in that culture, especially of, for example, a reincarnation. When one of the teachers, Rinpoches, dies, then he or she is reincarnating, and they find another Rinpoche, which is that reincarnation, and they're 2 years old or even younger, those reincarnations. And the way that they're raised is really as teachers, and all the people come to them as teachers and look up to them. And, these are 2-year-old boys and girls. So that's, it really made an impression on me, because my feeling at first was, well, that's a bit ridiculous. When I was younger, I read about this. It didn't make sense to me. But now I could see how when you raise a child in the belief that this child is perfect, suddenly they really turn into a perfect teacher, and have all this wisdom and knowledge to give. So I felt, wow, this stage of life where one is a newborn, and then 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and if we manage to raise children in the belief of perfection, and the true conviction, devotion to perfection, then that's what will happen. So it was so inspiring to fly back and feel a new birth in my own family, and with that, of course, the possibility, of a world teacher or of a world whatever to come here and bless us. She was born near Cologne, where my sister lives, on the same day as another member of the family. So it so happens that it's a double birthday. And and I feel, of course, this female lineage of my family expanding is also a special occasion. Like the mother is so strengthened now in the family. I feel, of course, my sister, haven't met her yet since the birth. I haven't seen her, but I'm sure I can see from the pictures the feeling has changed. And I'm deeply in admiration of that process and that transformation. So I'm very excited to meet her again and feel her.
And when will you hold your niece? Is this the first time that you've become an uncle?
Yes, it's the first time. And it's also, the first time that there's a birth that I experience in my family. Because I'm the youngest of my sister and I am younger than my sister. And I've never really experienced a birth in the family, and only one death. So, but probably that will accumulate the deaths.
But I love how you've chosen her, because absolutely you're right. It's the purity. So my daughter is about to turn 6 on Friday, and I love this time because I remember going into the hospital to have her, and there was snow on the ground, and it was there was a lot of snow in the UK at that time. And when I came out with this tiny little bundle, the snow had melted and the daffodils were in bloom. And I just feel like it's this really precious time, the spring equinox, that sense of light and hope and new beginnings as we say goodbye to the winter and we go into this, beautiful new season.
And, I feel birth and death, such significant events, and kind of both somewhere beautiful events, and as well as painful events. Giving birth, such a painful event, and as I imagine, and then death also. So this window that we get, I feel that's why I chose her, because I feel, when you asked for the most treasured person, or somebody that has made an impact, that is, for me, she's really a light for this window that we get between birth and death, and then maybe we get another window in another lifetime, who knows? But in this lifetime, it's really such a gift, and also the gift to actually discover and explore all that one can discover in one's lifetime. And now I'm 26, yes. And if I think back and now to what I'm discovering and what I find out, and the beauty of that, and the power and the purpose and the perception that gets just expanded and expanded and expanded, it's quite marvelous. And it comes with a lot of pain also, and that is the motivation, so to say, to find out about life. And I feel this is really the quest to find this truth, these truths, or this truth, and with that, live a life that's fulfilled and light and clear and beautiful without having to be pretty. So I feel that's also a birth. It's so beautiful without maybe being pretty. So she is my inspiration for all of that.
That is so lovely. And to think she's 2 days old. Well, congratulations, Uncle. It's a beautiful time for your whole family. It's like I hear it and feel it, as a mum, as an auntie. A newborn is the most precious of all things. So congratulations to you. Would you introduce and tell our listeners now about the place that you have chosen?
Yes. So the place actually comes from Nepal. Well, it is in Nepal, but I already mentioned Nepal, so it comes from there. It continues from there. And I just spend a month in that beautiful country, which has a completely different feeling. And before I introduce the place, let me make some suspense in that, I feel immersed in a Western culture. The thing that we are devoted to is mostly material people and maybe money or houses or whatever, the matter. And then coming to Nepal, the devotion to spirit. And it's so nice to see, and it's not better, neither is it worse. I just feel it's a different devotion to the spirit, that which you cannot see. And it's in equal measure to what we are devoted to, the matter. In equal measure, they are devoted to spirit. So to me, that was so inspiring to see this and experience this and feel this. And one of the places that I felt this most strongly is, and I'm really sorry, I don't always know how to pronounce this word, Bodhanat. Well, the people that know that place will immediately know, but probably it's not correctly pronounced. And this is the world's biggest roundabout stupa, Buddhist stupa. And it's right in the middle of the city of Kathmandu.
So could you explain a stupa, please?
Okay, so a stupa is basically built often with the relics of a previous, of a Buddha or a master of the lineage, Tibetan lineage, Buddhist master. And they are really place of honor to the masters, but also to what the masters have practiced or the light that they are shining. So it's basically, a structure with a big foot and then a little bit smaller, because looks a bit like a pyramid, you could say. Everybody knows what a pyramid is, so that gives a bit of a picture, a stupa. And one comes there and dedicates oneself to what the masters of meditation have discovered, and goes there and in that dedication maybe discovering the same.
So a temple of sorts which would house the teachings of the Dalai Lama and where people congregate to pray and to learn and converse. Is that right?
Yeah, not necessarily the teachings of the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is more of a political figure, and then the Dalai Lama has his own teachers, spiritual teachers. So it's more the masters, you could say. I mean, stupa specifically is from the Buddhist tradition, but I'm not Buddhist, but I still like to go to a stupa because the feeling of being in respect of the people before us, that also comes with that. The people, and not even the person, but what they have achieved in their lifetime and what they have made us see. Like the Buddha himself, for example, has made us see something. And if you're Buddhist or not, it doesn't matter. He's made humanity see something. And then coming to the stupa is like an opportunity to say thanks and then also make a connection, and in that connection maybe go on a similar quest.
So when you were in Nepal just recently and at the stupa in Buddha, tell me, what experience did you have? Any very specific experiences and deep connections that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. Well, one of the special things of this place is that you have the stupa, which is in the middle of the city, and then when it was built, it was in rice fields. There was nothing around. But now Kathmandu has expanded, which means that you have really a round row of shops and restaurants and rooftop restaurants and coffee shops and all kinds of things to buy very close to the actual stupa. And then there's a road in between the shops and the stupa where there are no cars, but a lot of people, because in the Buddhist tradition, you walk around the stupa a number of times. Like there are certain numbers even, I don't remember. And when you walk in that middle, I felt so amazed because on the right side, you have the representation of spirit with the stupa. Yeah. And then on the left side, you have the representation of matter with the shops. Yeah, all the stuff. And I felt walking in the middle, it's like, the perfect union of life. Like a not there, not here, but in the middle. So, of course, the Buddha has a teaching the middle way, and you could refer to that, but it was not intellectual for me. It was a feeling, the feeling of walking there and experiencing both these polarities, which are so smooth, working so smoothly there. And then I heard people saying, in the old times, it was much more beautiful. It was in rice fields. It was in nature. And maybe they are right. Maybe they are not. But my feeling was very strong because I felt what a perfect representation of our world now, that it's not in rice fields, but it's surrounded by all these shops. And that offers another kind of realization.
Certainly. And how do you yourself contend with that duality, when you are pulled into that Western materialistic, day-to-day living consumption, and what you have founded your life's work on, which is to live within the light and to be the lightest version of ourselves? How do you contend it and navigate it on a day-to-day?
Well, I feel that they are not two different things, so to say. They're not separate. Essentially, they are not separate because, let's say, for example, my house is a big structure of matter, and yet my house has also spirit. One could say what I feel. Nowadays, I like to use more the word feeling than energy or spirit or all that stuff. I feel these words are so used up. So I use just a feeling. So I walk into my house and I feel something, and then maybe I add a certain object or I add a plant or I take something out and the feeling changes. And I'm so happy that I'm not numb to these feelings. And I can also feel when I walk, for example, into an old building that has had difficult history, and I walk in and I feel, doesn't feel so good here, and we all have that feeling. And this is a good example for matter and spirit not being separate. They are always not only intertwined, but actually one. And this is how I see life unfolding for me, for people, that there's always the material story, so to say, of who we know, what we have, and so on. And it's very important also. And then there's the spiritual story of that, so to say. It's actually the quality of that life. So, there's my life, what I call my life, and then there's the quality of that life. And what I am increasingly learning is to feel the quality of that life. And that requires me to step out of me being in my life, looking up at it, so to say, but actually stepping out and seeing life as a whole, not just mine, but life with all the people and all the things and all the places and all the possessions, and really feel what is the quality. And then, there are these two aspects, so to say. One is me being aware of all the things in life, all the matter, all the thoughts, all the ideas, and then also me being able to feel. And that this may be a dimension that's a bit neglected in our world now, the feeling. Like even in the spiritual traditions, it's a lot about mind and awareness and objects and emptiness. And then another layer to that is when there is really emptiness, meaning I can see all the thoughts coming in and out, all the objects, but I remain and rest in that awareness of all that is happening. Then there's a possibility of actually feeling, and I feel then suddenly it's not emotions anymore. It's not like, oh, I feel sad or something, but the feeling is pure. it doesn't have a matter, it doesn't have an idea or a thought, pure, and it's strong, and then I can suddenly feel the real beauty of life.
Did you spend time in the mountains in Nepal? Did you walk?
Yeah, and that was a feeling, I tell you, in the Himalayas was so special. My God.
Absolutely. Did you trek for some days?
Well, I was with a friend. We didn't really trek as such, but we had a very specific purpose to visit a valley in the north of Kathmandu and visit certain caves there. So we were on a mission.
And you reached the caves?
We did reach the caves and much more.
Oh, wow. And beautiful, just mind-blowing, I imagine.
Yeah, and even there, the caves, of course, when they were first used by meditators, there were no Tibetan prayer flags, there were no objects in the cave, it was to meditate. And now these caves are built, there's a wall built around it, and there's an altar, and there's a Buddha there, and there are thousands of flags, and it's not wrong, any of it. And yet, sometimes it then is forgotten actually why we go to the cave. And the cave is now symbolically speaking, why we go on retreat. In the West we say to retreat and to feel the power of the mountain behind you and above you, and the river coming down and the trees. Everything is, especially there, it's amplified, of course. Anywhere in nature one can feel. Anywhere, also in the city, all nature, even the city nature.
But Nepal has a very prominent purity and magic, and in the natural world, it is breathtaking. And so, did you have some really precious time meditating there for yourself?
Sitting in the caves, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very special. You see, there were, in the village that we went to, there were 2 caves, and one was of a male Buddha, so to say, and another one was of a female Buddha. Yeah, and we went to both caves, and we were sitting for hours in each of these caves, and it was so fascinating to feel the difference.
Really,
of the feeling. It was a very different feeling. Now, of course, we knew that it was a female Buddha and a male Buddha, so our mind also programmed that experience somewhere. I don't deny that, but it does not matter, because maybe a lot of the things we see are programmed by our mind, and when I can be aware of it, it can be very nice to feel. So we walked to the female Buddha cave, and we felt that, and it was like the whole, and that brings us back to the birth of Karla and Lisa. We felt the whole spectrum of the power, which was really both complete love and complete brutality. It was really Mother Nature in all its sense. It wasn't all nurturing and nice and caring and soft, and no. It was also sharp and edgy and breakneck kind of edginess, and that side is, I feel, often forgotten of the feminine, like we often use this word, feminine, masculine, and that's forgotten. I mean, this cave was not just the nurturing; it was, Mother Nature power that came with that. Yeah. And then we went to, and I should tell you that in that cave, there was no thought. There was no thought at all. It was very special. And no thought, no idea, nothing. And then we went after many hours, because we got lost in that cave. It was hard to leave, I must say. And then, of course, we knew we wouldn't leave the feeling. The feeling is always there. But it was also a nice cave, nice place. Felt cozy. And then we went to the cave of the male Buddha, and that was completely different. It was very clear, very simple, very ordered. The feeling, I'm speaking only of the feeling, not of the looks. The feeling was very ordered, very kind of cleaned up, like a structure. And suddenly the experience that we had in the other cave, in the female Buddha cave, it suddenly began to have words. Suddenly in my mind, and my friend was also sharing later, we suddenly received words for how to describe this experience. Because before I couldn't have told you about that experience in the other cave. So suddenly I received words and a way of structuring, and then also certain insights and realizations that came in that cave.
So totally different experiences.
And I know that it was not the cave. Yeah, it was not the place. Although maybe the place contributed to that or facilitated that, but it was our connection, our relationship we had with the people that were there, and the cave brought it out.
Yeah. Will you revisit this place? Is it somewhere that you really want to go back and do another pilgrimage?
Yeah, probably I will. Not to get something else, because I feel I got it all, so to say. I didn't even go in the first place to get something. I just followed a feeling, and I followed a good friend, and our relationship just was exciting to explore. And I will probably go back because I want to show other people. So I may take my father or some other friends or students, or yeah, I will probably go back.
Yeah, maybe there will be an expedition with the transmission school in Nepal. Maybe that's something that's yet to be born.
Yeah. For sure, I want to teach a course at some point in Nepal.
Yeah, I can see you doing that. So, okay, will you kindly tell us then about your treasured possession, what you have chosen and why?
Okay, good. So unfortunately, those that are listening maybe cannot see the painting. It's a painting that I chose.
Okay, lovely. We can
So I will both show you and then describe it also. So that is the painting.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
And what you can see on the painting is, well, it's actually me looking out on my hometown.
Ah, there we go.
So I stand in the local park where I wasn't born in that area, but I moved there when I was quite young. And there's beautiful, quite wild park. And then you walk up the hill and you walk to this kind of terrace, like a balcony terrace. And you look out over the tops of the trees, the crowns of the trees, and you see some of the city in the background. And it was painted by my partner, Angelica, who went to this place with me, and I told her about the significance of that place for me as we were standing there. I'd never share with anybody this moment, the significance of this place. And when we were there, I felt maybe now is a moment to share that with her. And then she drew that and she gave it to me, I think for my birthday or something. And it's of course not even the painting that is the treasured possession, but that memory maybe. But the painting is a very beautiful gesture and representation of that moment.
Absolutely. And when was that painted? This birthday, last birthday? Was it recent?
Well, the event was when I was younger, maybe 19, 20, so some years ago. But the painting I was given, I think, last year, yes.
Can you just show me the painting again? Bring it back to the screen. I can see, and for the listener, the male figure, which is Fritz, looking out over to the city. He has his hands behind his back. I must say, he's dressed really smartly in these sort of blue shoes and chinos and a blue sweater. And your hands are behind your back, and you're standing right on the edge of this arced semicircle stone plinth, I believe. But as you're looking down to the city, what thoughts were going through your head? What do you think? Can you remember? Can you recall what you were reflecting upon as you look out?
Well, I must say that, of course, for me, this painting is illustrating this moment when I was 19, 20, and it was painted when we came back. So when we came back, there was no thought looking out. It was completely empty, just the feeling of it. As I had said before, the feeling was very strong, no thought. And the moment that came before, when I was 19, 20, that was, I was very agitated. I came from my mother's house, which is not far, and I was a bit annoyed by, the typical mother-son things when you're 18, 19, 20, you just go a little bit against each other. And I was agitated, and I walked out and I walked up the hill, and I remember I was swearing at myself, like a bit like a crazy person, like speaking to myself, like I was a bit annoyed. And then I arrived on that hill, and these days, many people speak about their awakening experiences. That's why I never share it, but maybe now I should share it a little more. So it was a moment of true awakening, because I realized, my God, I don't have to be this person. I don't have to be this Fritz that I always try and present to my mother. It was very effortful to be him and show that I am this or I am that. And I'd put a lot of expectations, so to say, on myself, and also developed such a clear idea of who I was already at 18, 19, 20, when you don't know who you are. At that age, you know, and you don't know. It's a lot of confusion. And that confusion I kind of brought out in all kinds of strange ways. And I got frustrated at myself for living this person. And in that moment, it all fell away, really all fell away. And I felt for the first time really free.
So an epiphany, really, in that moment, that sense of something ending and and something new beginning.
Yeah. For me, it was more than an epiphany. It was really like a different life, because it was not even a mental realization. It was not like, like I got something. It was more suddenly like a feeling that I got, that something became really clear and something fell away.
Of course, then your relationships just organically change, don't they? Because you're not locked into that programming anymore. As you said, something falls away and things have a natural design that they all start to align in a way that you were praying for years and you couldn't quite get that. And then suddenly they are really standalone moments in our life. They don't happen a lot.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny because actually it was a very rare moment. It's true. And then after that moment, I actually, so first of all, it was very easy to meet my mom afterwards. Since then, it really changed. But one thing that was quite funny is that afterwards, I started to make a new Fritz that was enlightened, you see. Then I was very excited about sharing with people, this realization, or I never really shared this particular moment, but more, I know so much. And that was really silly. Then it began really silly because I had the realization, and yet I was identifying anyway with a new character, a new idea of myself, and that it just was a more advanced idea of myself, and I believed. So that was really the reality of what happened afterwards. It was not like enlightenment moment and life has changed and thank you very much. Life had really changed. But, I just built a new reality, and I was, I always say, like with a smile, with a joke, like I was as much of an asshole as I was before. And, I say it with a smile. It's of course not true. I was not that bad, but it was funny. And then I was so lucky because I met the right people, teachers in around in London and other places where I was living at the time. That helped me to kind of a little bit helped me to get rid of that, so to say, or at least see it, not get rid of it, but at least see it and kind of be less into myself.
What I really get when, from this conversation and the essence of you, and certainly from, to think that when I first met you, you were 22. I mean, 26 is still so young. But there is a sense that from a very, very young age, when you talk about your niece being 2 days old and what she comes into the world with and holds, the purity she holds, I get the sense with you as well that from a very, very young age, you were aware and also seeking the this transcendence of identity, this transcendence of being of just outgrowing our conditioning as quickly as possible, so that we can have this liberated state and actually then go and live by what you're doing now, which is living as fully and as closely to your light being as possible and inspiring that in others, which I believe is your life's work. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, that's for sure. Already when I was 22, 3, I said I will be doing this for the rest of my life. And then there were different expressions, of course, of that, different kinds of contexts. But what I mean by this is really the light. So I'm very happy that now I found this name, Live Light, and the organization that comes with it, of course, is only a vehicle to express. But I'm very happy because there's finally, kind of a very clear context and an honest context also. Yeah, sometimes I would sneak it in other contexts, and it's also good to do that. But it's nice now to be really honest. with the work, so to say. But I was very, very, very lucky because I was raised by my parents as perfect. That's very rare. I know that they really raised me as a perfect being, meaning they treated me as someone that's already perfect and doesn't have to be educated or shown the way or shaped. Although, of course, I was educated and I also received my package of conditioning, as we all, and it's not even bad, I feel. But I always had the sense of perfection. I always knew very well what is perfection. And then then over time, sometimes I got lost. And then the journey for me was not so much to get out of conditioning, but more to see clearly and therefore not be lost. And this is also now what is my work, to help people see clearly and therefore not be lost, not be confused.
So beautiful. For our listeners, I should also let them know that we're having this conversation, me in South Wales and you in Tuscany, which is very close to the transmission school where you've taught several times, where I am yet but shall visit. And tell me, what is the next course that you're running there, Fritz?
Yeah, so thanks for mentioning the transmission school. Is a beautiful place that I've joined and helped build some years ago. And I taught there, as you said, quite a few times. In my next course, I don't know when it will be, I forgot, but in the autumn. And it'll be a course to look at developing your own meditative practice through understanding very clearly the life that you live. So rather than learning in meditation practice or doing something that has been done, it's really to see what is the life that I'm living. And from that, understand what is the, as I call it, meditative pathway for you.
Do you know, I know 1,000 people that would benefit from that. So I'm going to have to spread the word. As soon as you've got the dates, let me know, because that seems and feels like a really a good invitation for many people who've tried meditation and feel put off by it in some way. And actually, the way you've just framed that, I feel is a real invitation to a lot of people who are starting on this path. So all the very, very best of luck. It's been an absolute privilege having you on. And thank you very much for being a guest. Thank you for introducing your person, your place, and your treasured possession. And again, to that precious darling niece of yours, I really know that you will enjoy that first cuddle. And here's to you being an uncle to that little girl. And thank you. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you so much.
And there we have it. A huge thank you to our guest this week, and also to you, our listener. I am so very grateful for the time that you take to tune in and listen each week. So, if you have enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more episodes, then please press subscribe or follow now. Until next week, take care. Goodbye.